Okay, so here we go with another Mcfarlane DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is Max. No, it's not the Flash. It's Max Mercury. Max Mercury was an old Golden Age character. I believe he was part of the Quality Comics lineup, along with Black Hawk, Plastic Man, Phantom Lady, Uncle Sam, the Human Bomb, a bunch of those guys. And DC bought them out in the 1950s, mainly because they wanted to get a hold of Black Hawk, which was still a very popular comic at that time. Uh, Max Mercury became kind of a forgotten character, though. And originally, he was not named Max Mercury. Originally, in the Golden Age, this character's name was Quicksilver. But in the intervening time in between when the character ceased publication and when they brought him back, which would have been in the Bronze Age at some point, Marvel Comics came out with their own character called Quicksilver, which much more famous than this guy at this point. But that didn't stop DC from using the character and doing some interesting things with him. And I think he turned out to be a pretty cool character in DC's version. And I believe it was writer Mark Waid who decided, to give him the name Max Mercury. The logic being that, Mercury is another word for the metal Quicksilver. And, Max was just to make it a little, give it a little more zing, a little more pep, that sort of alliteration that we know of for comics. So he was a supporting character in the Flash comics for a while, and Impulse, and he was really the guy who I think was kind of considered like the expert in the concept of the Speed Force, considered the Zen master of speed. They're probably going to talk about that some more in the trading card. You can see I got this guy on clearance. He was $12 at one point, but I think by the time I picked this guy up, he was a little bit cheaper. I want to say that these got down to $7 at one point, so I got a few of them. Mainly because I figured I could use some for customs, and I don't want to say what character that I'm planning on making as a custom for Max Mercury, but that high collar, that's a hint. And another hint is I'm glad this guy came with some extra heads. I'm just saying, yeah, I got a Superman movie figure, even though like I never even actually saw the movie, and most of the designs from this movie I didn't like, but you can't really screw up Lex Luthor. So once I saw him marked down, I'm like, I'll go ahead and get him. So, clearance price is pretty good on those. Anyway, let's go ahead and open up Max Mercury. So he's another one that comes with a bunch of lightning bolt effects. So let's go ahead and get those out of the package. That one actually just flew out of the package. I usually don't do much with these, for being honest. I'll pose them with the lightning bolts on there to like take the thumbnail picture so you guys can see them. But other than that, I don't usually do a whole lot with them. You think I'm going to use the snips to get this one that's around the torso, and probably the rest of these while I'm at it. I think that'll be the easiest way to get this. I can't really get too good a look at his head sculpt because he's in there kind of sideways. But I'm interested to see what he looks like once we get him out of the package. And this is another one that reuses the standard buck that we see a lot, although not entirely. I believe that this upper torso piece is entirely new, and I think that the gloves might be new because they're a little split at the top. Earth Dude is here, and he says, "We Batman." Yes, we are. All right, so got him out of the package, and again, as we can see, he reuses a lot of parts from the standard DC buck, the same one that we've seen with the Riddler and Nightwing and Captain Atom, etc., etc. I'm kind of surprised they didn't just use the same upper torso for Quicksilver, Max Mercury, and Nightwing, since they both have the high collar. But his is a little more windswept, so they definitely used a different one. But if they had have made it a little more just sort of stand uppy, like we see in the artwork on the back here, they could have reused it for that first appearance Nightwing. But no, they gave Max Mercury his own collar, and that's pretty cool. So, got the trading card out of there. And we got the figure stand, and it's the typical matte black figure stand with the glossy DC logo embossed onto it. It's the older style figure stand because this is an older figure. I've had this one for a while and haven't opened him up yet, but he looks pretty cool. I like the way the collar turned out, and that kind of windswept uh, detailing to it is nice. I think it'll still work for Lex Luthor. I think that'll be fun. So let's go ahead and set the figure aside real quick, and we'll talk about the trading card. And there's the same piece of artwork that we saw on the back of the package. I think that's Phil Jimenez, but I'm not 100% sure. There's what the back of the package looks like. And it reads Max Mercury, the Flash, data file, real name non-applicable. Max Mercury was imbued with the power of the Speed Force as a member of the U.S. cavalry in the 19th century following a massacre of Native Americans. A dying shaman enchanted Max, granting him unlimited super speed and the ability to shift his molecules and pass through solid objects. Known over the years as Quicksilver, Windrunner, Whip Whirlwind, and the Zen Master of Speed, Max tried to penetrate the mysteries of the Speed Force many times. Each time he found himself skipping forward in time, with the result that he now finds himself in the 21st century. I believe Chowny Ma says, I'll second that. Yeah, I'll bet you would. Yeah, I believe that that particular origin of Max Mercury, that was another one that Mark Waid had come up with. I don't remember if the character actually had an origin in the Golden Age comics or not. A lot of characters in the Golden Age, they just didn't fool with origins. They just, here was a character, he's got superpowers, deal with it. You know, they didn't really explain any of that kind of stuff. But whether or not he actually had an origin in the Golden Age, I'm pretty sure that that was one that Mark Waid had just come up with on his own. So he's got an interesting design for his mask, and you don't see this type of design very often, but it's like a skull cap with a red domino mask attached to it. And you can tell it's like a very narrow sort of domino mask. It barely even qualifies as a mask, honestly, because it doesn't really cover that much of his face. But it's totally attached to the skull cap. And you see the skull cap is actually like a separate molded piece that they glued on. I don't know why they did that. It seems like unnecessary, like a little bit of extra work that they put into it, but it looks cool. It definitely adds like a little bit more sort of volume to it. And then, of course, the collar is a separate piece. And like I said, he's basically got that. Other than the torso, which is an original torso, it looks like it's the same. And the gloves, like I said, I think the gloves are something something that they. I don't remember any other gloves having the slits in them like that, kind of like Captain America's gloves. So, but it looks cool. I like it. It's a pretty accurate representation of the character in the comics. You see, he's got the white shirt, the dark blue gloves, trunks, and boots, and then the lighter blue tights. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Kiss T-shirt. Earth Dude points out the Kiss T-shirt. Yeah, it's got the Destroyer painting on there, which I think is pretty cool. I got it at Walmart a few years ago, so I was pretty happy with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. So Max Mercury can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. Got the cool Mcfarlane sort of butterfly joint here. So you got some wibble, some wobble, back and forth, up and down. His arms can raise up to the sides about that far. He's got the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation, so the torso rotates all the way around where the rib cage meets the abs and where the abs meet the trunks. Max Mercury can kick up about that far. He's got a little bit of wobble at the waist, at the hips here. Doesn't rotate all the way around, but it rotates around enough you can get a little bit extra posing out of it. He's got double jointed knees. If I can get it all the way, that's about the range of motion you get at the knees. Doesn't have any boot articulation, but he does have the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation, so it doesn't really matter. Ankle rotates all around where the ankle meets the shin and where the ankle meets the foot. And then the foot can point down about that far, and the foot can point up about that far. And then he's got toe articulation just to show off. And we've been over this body type before several times, including with lots of Flash action figures. So you should know at this point that we can get like a really sweet running pose out of this guy. And we're going to do that right now because I want him to look as cool as possible for the thumbnail when I get around to taking that. And what do you know? There he goes, running into action. His foot was a little crooked there. That looks better, doesn't it? Yeah. So Max Mercury was a really cool character. And like, in the golden age, he's a decent enough golden age speedster character, but he was definitely made a little more interesting when they brought him back in the 1990s. And I think part of the reason for that was, they were just trying to get as many speedster characters into that particular storyline as possible. So Max Mercury was like an obvious one to toss in there. And why just make another generic speedster character out of him? Make something a little more interesting with him. And I thought they did a really good job with that. Julian is here, and he says, I started collecting, and I was wondering what your most expensive figure is. Oh, geez, I don't know. Let me think. Uh, I have an original GI Joe Green Beret. I don't know if that's the most expensive thing I have, but I think that's the most sort of like, collectorish thing that I have. It's like I'm a big fan of GI Joe. I've loved GI Joe since they introduced Real American Hero in the 1980s. I wound up rediscovering the older style GI Joe, the 1960s style GI Joe, long after the fact. And I just fell in love with that Green Beret figure, and I had to have one. And it wasn't too pricey when I bought it, but I think that that kind of stuff only goes up in value at this point, and it's not even in the best of shape. But I love it. To me, that's my most valuable figure. I don't know about the monetary value because honestly, I don't pay too much attention to that kind of stuff. But in terms of sentimental value, it's definitely that GI Joe Green Beret. Earth Dude says, I wonder if Todd's still designing or just approving others' designs. I've had a few figures that I've looked at over the years I've been doing Mcfarlane figures on this channel, and there's definitely a few of them that I've looked at and I've said, "Yep, I think the Todd father had a hand in this because it looks like something he drew." But then there's other ones like Max Mercury. I can't really see this being the sort of thing that Todd Mcfarlane would have that much weigh in about. It doesn't seem like his sort of style, and if anything, it seems like it's made to look like Humberto Ramos's version of Max Mercury, even though I think it's a little more naturalistic and not as stylistic as Humberto's version, but it's still I think it still matches up with his style pretty well. If you were somebody who was a fan of this character from the Impulse comics that Humberto drew, I think you would really appreciate this figure in particular. Julian says, that's cool. My dad loves G.I. Joe. Your dad has excellent taste. Earth Dude says, the 12-inch Green Beret? Yes, indeed, the 12-inch. The original 12-inch Green Beret. Mine is a redhead because, they didn't really, I think in the early G.I. Joes, pay too much attention to what figure had what hair color because he wasn't really supposed to be like a specific character. He was just supposed to be like your average fighting man. So they didn't really, specifically give, the Green Beret one specific hair color. But yeah, mine's a redhead. I do know that once they got into the adventure team, that's where they started doing this sort of thing where like I think it was the air adventurer was blonde and the sea adventurer was a redhead and the land adventurer was dark haired and just the regular adventurer was black, etc., etc. Earth Dude says, love GI Joes. I'm a 3 3/4 inch is my thing. Yeah, I agree with that. That's my GI Joes, the 3 3/4 inch. Like I said, that's what I grew up with. That's when I always think of GI Joe, I always immediately think of the 3 3/4 inch figures. Not that I don't love the classifieds. The classifieds are great. I'm really enjoying collecting those. But to me, like 3 3/4 inch, that's where it's at. I even got like a bunch of customs that I make myself of those. Here's like the animated version of Flint that I made with Marauder Task Force parts. So Yeah, if enough people ask me, I might put some of those up as shorts. I think I could probably do some of those and show those off. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for Max Mercury. This is a pretty simple review. I mean, it's a body type I've been over several times, and he's a cool character. I like the character, so I was really happy to have the figure. And like I said, I bought a bunch of these because they were on clearance, and I figured I could get some good custom fodder out of them. So yeah, hopefully I'll have some of those up soon. Anyway, that's it for this guy. Hope you enjoyed it. I will be back on the next episode with something else cool, and I think I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to. I haven't opened any Masters of the Universe in a while since those Masterverse figures I opened up, and I found this guy at Walmart today. And not only is this Masters of the Universe, this is a first for this channel. When I open him up on the next episode, oh hell yeah, we got Thundercats up in the house. The Masters of the Universe X Thundercats line, Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats. Believe it or not, this is the first time I've ever had an action figure of this character. Not just the first time I'll be opening a Thundercats figure on the channel, but the first time I've ever had a Thundercats figure, period. How about that? So that should be pretty exciting. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Max Mercury. Take care of yourself, Earth Dude and Shawnee Ma, who are two completely different people, not the same person at all. And thanks to Julian for stopping by as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. YouTube likes when I say like and subscribe. So I'm going to keep saying like and subscribe many times as possible so that way more people will like and subscribe. And if more people like and subscribe and watch the videos, then YouTube will send that out to more people and those people will like and subscribe. So please make sure that you like and subscribe. It is actually important to the algorithm. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.